Welcome back. Canceled flights are leaving tens of thousands of Americans frustrated and stranded in airports across the country. But at the southern border, illegal migrants have no problem catching a flight. Pennsylvania is the latest state seeing an influx of ghost flights coming in the middle of the night, full of illegal immigrants. According to a letter sent to Homeland Secretary by Congressman Dan Moore, hundreds of illegal migrants have been flown into Scranton International Airport by U.S. government charter flights. And this isn't the first time we're hearing about it. We heard about similar stories coming out of Jacksonville, Florida earlier in November. Here now to react is Fox Nation host Tomi Lahren. Tomi, you know, anything that happens in the night can't be trustworthy, especially when it's coming from the U.S. government. So why are they doing this?
Well, I think it's quite obvious they don't want the American people to see what they're doing, which is interesting to me because they don't seem to care that our border is wide open. They don't seem to want to fix that. In fact, they seem quite proud of what they're doing at our southern border. If they weren't, then they would change it. So then why fly these flights in the middle of the night? Why are these BidenAir flights, ghost flights, as you say? If they're so proud of their open border agenda, then let the American people see it. But too bad. I think that they realize the American people are not down with this invasion. They're not okay with our country being invaded by millions of illegal immigrants. So they have to do this fly-by-night tactic. Too bad we're starting to catch on.
You know, we're catching on. It's reflective in the polls, Tomi. So they have to know about how the American people feel. I mean, even if you look at Democrat cities that are on the border that have flipped to Republican now. And still, after all of that, they won't listen to Henry Cuellar, a Democrat who has been encouraging the Biden administration to do something about the border. They won't listen to the polls. So do they just not care, or is their larger mission more important?
Yeah, the larger mission is to import their future voters. They know they're losing with the American people, so they want to pad their voting bloc. That's been my theory for years now. But the Biden administration is not going to change their policy. That's clear. So it's going to be up to governors, both Republican and Democrat, as you mentioned, Lawrence, to start making changes. Ron DeSantis has already vowed that he's going to spend money in his state to send these illegal immigrants to blue states. He's also going to make sure that those nonprofits and those private companies that are aiding and abetting this activity are also held accountable and paying restitution to the taxpayers that are footing the bill for all of this. So we need more governors like Ron DeSantis. I don't care if they have an R or a D behind their name. They need to stand up for their constituents, and they need to stand up for the American people.
Yeah. You know, it's just interesting to me that you continue to hear compassion from this party, and you see what's happening to these kids, but you also see the drug crisis that's happening, and it's coming from the border. Of course, Mexico is getting a lot of that stuff from China, but there's a direct route. I mean, whether you're talking about the drugs, the people that they are selling to sex slavery, or the illegal migrants, it's all one pile of nonsense that is hurting American people.
Even if we're not talking about the drugs and the criminals that are undoubtedly coming across our border, we also need to take a look at this realistically and logically and understand that even if these people are coming in, even if they're unaccompanied minors, even if they're people that are just looking for a better life, which we sympathize with, we understand. But those people are still draining our resources. They're still costing us money. They're still draining education resources, law enforcement, infrastructure, all of those things to the detriment of the American people. There are so many children in states across this country who don't have the resources that they need in their schools or in their homes. And meanwhile, we're footing the bill for people who have no legal right to be here. Also, the Biden administration can import more future voters. No, the American people are not going to be happy with this. And I think you're going to see it come November.
Yeah. And it's funny because then you have the Biden administration that is so petty. Texas decided to build its own border wall, and the pile of stuff that's already paid for by the U.S. taxpayers, they wouldn't even sell it to Texas. That's where the Biden administration is right there. They choose pettiness instead of the rule of law. Tomi Lahren, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence. Happy New Year.